All right, guys, welcome back. I am in the trunk. I've got weld through spray primer on the inside of the bracket. I did not do anything on the outside yet, not worried about the outside. For now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this old bracket and I'm gonna hold up where the spot welds were in here. And I briefly did it already, held it in place. If I stack 2 paint sticks up right here on the flat spot, run a level across here with the 2 paint sticks, we are pretty much level with the level. Maybe a 32nd off, which I can adjust that. So I'm gonna take the new one with these 2 paint sticks, I'm gonna put them on the new rail, hold this in place, and we're gonna maneuver it around until we're in the right spot, until the level is in the same spot as it was holding that up there with the 2 paint sticks. Now, before I weld this on, I want to make the slot on the back side of this for the seat belt to go in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure from here down to where the slot was and do the same on this one. Mark it out, and we'll just drill a hole on each side and take a cutoff wheel and cut between the two. So let me get my stuff and I'll get that done. Got my drill bits and everything out. All right, I have all my stuff I need here. So we'll take a measurement from 3 1/8 inches down. And I'm making a 5/16 inch wide slot, centered on this bracket, 3 1/2. So 1 3/4 is the center. It can be a little bit wider, that's fine, it's not gonna hurt anything. The way that the strap goes in here, it goes underneath the car to the front side, and there's a long threaded bolt underneath the car, and you just drive your strap up with the nut. So I'm gonna drill a 5/16 hole on each side. Now I'm just going to cut a slot between the two. another slot made. Also, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to hold this up where it goes and do a measurement from the frame rail over. A rough measurement, because this thing is so chewed up. I can at least get an idea to make sure I'm in the right spot. About 14 5/8 of an inch over from the outside of that frame rail over. 14 5/8. I'm gonna write this down so I don't forget. I'm gonna just put a tack weld on this new brace just to kind of hold it in place up top. We want to get this pretty close because the floor pan needs to sit on it and sit flat on top of the surface. So we want it to be pretty close. We don't want to be off real far. There's 14 5/8 right there. Drop it down here to about there. I always like to take my drill and just kind of roughen up that weld through primer just a little bit. Actually, gonna use that to hold it. That looks real good there. Let's remeasure over here. Right at 14 5/8. Everything looks good still. Double check, make sure it didn't move. We're good there. I'm not going to completely weld that right now. I'm just going to get it tacked on. And we will tack it on back here as well. A little bit of burning you're seeing is the underside of this old brace still has some undercoating underneath it. I'll clean that up from the underside when I go underneath the car and do that. But I have this tack welded on now. Not going to go anywhere. You just want to make sure that this stuff is real strong because this holds the weight of the gas tank. If you have a 20-gallon gas tank, you have a lot of weight resting on this brace and this brace over here. I still need to put a tack weld in these few holes. I'm going to wait to do that until I get the floor pan cut. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the floor pan in here and I'm going to leave it about 1 inch long on this side and about 1 inch long on this side. And then I'll cut it back as I'm welding it. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it. I'm going to get it marked. I'm going to get these two cut down to the size I want them, lay them in here, and we'll go from there. All right, I'm back. I got the center panel and most of the right side panel cut to fit. I sprayed some more weld-through primer right on the brace again and where this goes over top of the brace. What I did was I cut this to fit up front here. This indent. Just gonna drop down and there's a gap right there for my weld to go. So what we're gonna do is put a couple tack welds on up there first, and our lines are lining up right here. Everything seems to be lining up real nice. So we're gonna get this tack welded in first up here. Just a few. And it's resting on this brace really nicely as well. One thing I want to do before I start welding and covering up this brace is I want to measure over from this frame reel to the center of this rib, which is 15 inches. And then on this side, it's 17 3/8. So that I could drill some holes through the floor pan and spot weld it back down like they originally did it. That'll work. So we will drop this in place. And we're just going to throw a couple tack welds up on the top first. Kind of hold the back side up in the air, just so I can get a couple welds on this front first. Still lining up real good there. Our ribs coming perfectly down. We get a weld right there now. Kind of a pain to work in this area. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cutoff wheel and I'm going to cut through this new piece and the old piece at the same time. Straight through both of them, and it's going to leave me about a gap about the width of the cutoff wheel, and then I could weld it in and it'll be a nice smooth weld. I have to cut down here a little bit more too, because I don't want this to overlap. Right here it's not overlapping, but right here it is. So I need to just trim that up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be back. Okay, I cut down this one side. So let's get a couple more tack welds in right here to keep it nice and flush, and then we'll cut down this side next. High right here. I can start cutting down this other way. Okay, put a couple more tack welds along here. I'm probably gonna have to run the cutter right here a little bit, still hitting a little bit right there. But let me get a couple going on the beginning. Okay, that first panel's tack welded in. I'm going to take a wire wheel and go back around and clean all this metal real good. A couple spots is not welding the greatest, but I'll clean that metal back up. Like I said, there is undercoating and stuff on the bottom side. I might have to go underneath there and clean that up before I finish welding this. But it's in place, it's tack welded down. It's nice and tight against this new brace that we made. There's no real gaps anywhere, so it's sitting nice and flush. I'm not going to drill holes for the spot welds until after I put the other panel in. Let me get you in here. Ugh. Right here, it dips down. They put a dip in it so that the other panel can sit on top. So I'm going to go ahead and get the other panel fitted, and then I'll be back. All right, I'm going to start welding along the back, again, just like I did with the other panel. Now these two are going to overlap because that's how they made the panel. And once we grind it down and everything and do a little body work to it, it'll be fine. All over here, it's short. We're going to have to make a patch panel to go all in there. Alright, now I need to cut along here again. And I haven't measured over from the frame rail over. I could still see the frame rail because if you remember I had to cut this down because somebody had fiberglass that edge. So I'll still be able to eyeball from the frame rail over to drill the holes for the spot welds. All right, I'm gonna finish a couple more tack welds on there. And then what I'm probably gonna do is clean up all the area and keep tack welding all the way around the panel until it's fully welded. But I'm gonna go ahead and clean the metal up a little bit better so that it welds better. All right, we're getting there. I got the middle section all welded up. I'm not gonna grind it any farther than that. It's pretty flush. I don't want to take it down too low and lose the strength of the weld. There is an 1/8 inch gap between the two, so that's going to definitely help on the strength of the weld. So the middle section's all welded up. I have to weld up the rest of the section on the right and make a couple little patch panels on the right, and then we just need to put the spot welds in here. So I'll come back when the rest of it's welded and I will show you the spot welds going down the center. But it's getting there. This is just gonna get a coat of Duraglass and then a coat of Bondo, and that'll be looking just like it did originally. All right, the floor pans are just about welded in. I'm welded in all around the edges except for over here where I have to make a couple pieces to fill in those gaps. I wanted to show you guys, I drilled my holes for the spot welds. I haven't spot welded them yet, but they're drilled through the sheet metal. And if you look in here, that right there is the top of the frame rail that we made. So I'll just go in with my welder and weld all those in, and that'll secure these pans to that frame rail that we built earlier. So I'm gonna keep going with this, and I'll show one final photo, or video rather, of it all finished. This is all the same day. Probably end up taking me about 6-7 hours to do this complete, which isn't too bad for one day of work. You know, after I finish welding all this up, I'll put a skim coat of Duraglass over all the seams, and then probably a light coat of Bondo just to smooth anything else out, and then it'll be ready for primer. And then this whole trunk floor gets painted back to the original color. In the trunk, I ordered a quart of single stage urethane paint. I'm not going to base coat, clear coat inside the trunk. There's no point. It's just a lot easier to just do it with single stage, because these trunks are kind of a pain in the butt to paint inside of here, especially you got to do all inside the quarters and everything. And if you look here, you can see how the factory coating is cracked. There's an actual, you know what's funny is you can sort of feel it with your nail, but you can't. So I'm going to sand this down and put a light coat of texture back over top of it. It's just a clear chip guard that I use, and after it gets clear chip guarded, it'll get painted over. Yeah, that's weird how that cracked like that, because it seems like it's just the paint. The undercoating that the factory had put on it doesn't seem like it's breaking apart or falling off the car. Maybe it just shrank, I'm not sure. So let me get this finished up, and I will do a final video of what it looks like before the bodywork. Okay, so now I'm working on these pieces over here. I've tack welded it down there on the side. It's hard to see, but I made the piece from here up because this was all fiberglass. I cut it down to where it was good solid metal. If you look here, you can see how it has this overlap. What I did was I made this piece first because I wanted to have a nice solid weld between this pan and the side. So now I'm going to I cut a little strip. I'm going to weld this on top to recreate this lip all the way down. Now, when I put this on, I'm going to spray weld through primer on this side and on the back of this. Then when I flip it over, those two pieces of metal are coated, at least treated with some primer rather than just being bare metal. Now, when I weld this piece on, I'm only going to weld it along this back edge here. I'm going to weld it on top of the weld I already did, and then I'll grind it down. By doing that, you're going to have this factory look. And if you look here on the factory, they ran a bead of seam sealer. So I will seam seal up here all the way down this edge after it's installed, and it'll look just like factory. Just trying to make it look back to the way it should be. Before the previous repair was just all hacked up. Fiberglass just all underneath it and everything. So once this is done and I go underneath and I clean all that up, it'll be nice and clean. All these extra pieces of metal, I'm just cutting them out of the scrap leftover piece of the floor pan. I still have to do rear floor pans and where the convertible underneath the rear seats and the rear floor pans. I have to do those two. The guy just poured fiberglass in the bottom of those two. So that'll be another treat when I get to that, and I will videotape that. And what I'll try to do when I videotape those parts is try to videotape different parts than what I did with this, so you can kind of see the other processes. I'm trying not to make these videos too long, and if I were to video this whole process, you're talking, you know, 6 to 8 hours, and that's just too long of videos. So let me get back at it. I'm gonna get this piece welded on, and I'm gonna finish the few that I need to make around that wheel well, and then I will show you a final product before bodywork. All right, that's the finished product. It's ready for bodywork, all welded in. A little sloppy looking in there, but I wanted to get that welded in so it's nice and solid. That'll get a coat of seam sealer so that it matches this side over here. You can tell it's seam sealed in. I'm very confident in this repair. I'm actually gonna stand in this trunk and show you how strong it is now compared to the fiberglass that was here before. I mean, I'm 190 pounds, can jump on that and it doesn't move at all. So that brace and everything is nice and sturdy. Got to do a little work underneath the car still, and then that part will be done. That's going to finish up this part of the video. It was a two-part series. I just kind of briefly showed you things I was doing with it. I got to do the I want to get the wheel skirts done next, which are over here sitting in the car. I want to get these body work next. This one has a bad lip on it. I don't know if you can see it here. So we're going to cut this out. We're going to make a new lip, straighten this out, make a little new lip here. Just going to remove enough metal to replace where I need to replace. I sandblasted these down. These will probably end up getting a full coat of Bondo on them just to make sure they're flat. That's actually not rust. There is red oxide primer still a little bit on it. Want to get those done and get them in primer, and then I need to repair these rear seats, the underneath the seat and the floor pans. I mean, this is the mess I'm dealing with on this. Front floors are nice, but this is the mess that I get to deal with next. I mean, this is just fiberglass resin with a piece of sheet metal. So we're gonna cut that out. I have some new floor pans here. We will we're gonna do the same thing we did in the trunk. You can see this brace right here is all screwed up. I don't know that I can get one of these. We might have to fix what we have. I mean, somebody already put a plate on here. So we're gonna have to probably fix that. I don't think I can get a part for that, but it is what it is. We'll get it fixed. We'll just keep moving forward. Get this car back together, get it painted all the way, and get it driving. This motor, I know nothing about. It came with no valve covers on it or anything. I'm gonna clean them up and throw a set of valve covers on it and try to start it real quick before I pull this motor out. Then I'm gonna pull this motor out long as it runs and not knocking or ticking or anything like that. We'll get this out of the car. I'll wire wheel it down, repaint it. I'm not taking the car off the frame. It was done a long time ago. It's actually pretty decent underneath other than those floor pans. We're gonna clean up this whole front. frame section, radiator, core support. It's all actually in really good shape if you look. Just needs to be sanded down and repainted, satin black again. You know, but just clean it all up, make it look nice. I'm just hoping the motor's good and I don't have to get another motor. This is a 283, and that's what the car VIN tag said it came with. I don't know anything about the brake boost or anything like that, if it works or not. But that's about it for this video. I think the next video I'll show you guys will be briefly, this is that other door I was talking about when I had primered it the second time. I had gotten blisters in the original bodywork that somebody had done. I don't know that we could see it in this photo. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna grind it down to bare metal real quick and re-bodywork and prime and paint it, because I'm afraid that if I don't do that, what will happen is it'll be a nice hot sunny day and the paint will start bubbling underneath. So I do not want that to happen. So it's just better to spend the 20-30 minutes that it takes to just strip it down and redo it. It really doesn't take that long. This floor pan trunk area, it took me about 8 hours. And if you take the car like this and you look at it overall and you're like, oh my God, it's so much work, how am I gonna get this done? Break it up into sections. You know, say, dedicate like a day and say, I'm gonna get this trunk floor fixed. And just do it and get it done. One day, this whole area is taken care of. I still got a couple hours underneath probably. You know, and then I'll set aside another day to do maybe the passenger rear floor pan and under the seat area. We'll do that in a day, and then another day I'll do the other side. You know, and then another couple hours I'll do the wheel skirts. And before you know it, you know, within a month, just a couple hours here and there, you've gotten a lot done. These don't need to take, you know, years to do. There's really no reason for it. But all right, that's it for this video. Hope you guys like it. If you do, please like, subscribe. That would be awesome. You guys have a good day, and the next video is going to be, I'm going to get that door stripped down. I'm going to take it outside and just grind it off real quick. I like doing that outside when I can because it's just real dusty. So all right guys, have a good day.